he's getting a bit big for his boots. And at that point, you ain't won anything, mate. Get back
He's
to
won
choosing
FA
your
Cup.
best 11, would you?
He's got one FA Cup under his belt, but yeah,
Community Shield as well.
yeah, we put that out. So you shameless. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Social Media Derby. Hey Johns, how's it going, man?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. How about you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right. Having a chilled bank holiday weekend. And for once, we don't have a game today, so we can
Yeah.
actually record this pod on a Monday instead of a Tuesday after all the matches. But yeah, let's get into it. We both had crazy games today, to be honest, and and all the action, or a bunch of the action, in like the first 5 minutes for both matches.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember.
you,
Well, I think we were texting, innit?
yeah,
It was like what we had just let in a goal, and you like replied back to me, and he was like, "We're 2-0 down."
yeah, I couldn't believe it. And neither of our matches were televised because we had the great British 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon blackout on TV.
Yeah,
Obviously, there are other ways, but we didn't. We weren't technically watching the matches live,
allegedly. Yeah,
allegedly. But yeah, very strange games, goals galore. United won 3-2 against Nottingham Forest after going two down in the first 4 minutes. Shocking. And you guys somehow managed to claw back, conceding again in the first minute to get yourself ahead 2-1, and then somehow conceded a late equaliser to 10 men Fulham. So, yeah, crazy games for us to review and go through. And also, then to top it all off, we've got each other on Sunday
yeah,
afternoons. We'll be travelling to the Emirates. Not very much a happy hunting ground for us, to be honest, in the last few years.
yeah.
And we've got that to preview as well. But let's start off with the games. We'll start off with your game, Johns. 2-2. I think we both predicted a win, a fairly comfortable win last week.
Yep.
So give me your view on the game. What happened?
I don't know, man. There's something in the water this weekend because even the Liverpool Newcastle match that we were watching like back end of yesterday was crazy as well. So I don't know what was going on, but I mean to break it down, the first goal is just really sloppy play, and I think it'd be easy to just look at Saka and be like, Saka, what are you doing, mate? Why are you playing that ball? But at the same time, you can easily look at Partey, who clearly hasn't really bedded into that position positionally. He probably will take some time if we're going to keep on playing him there. And he kind of just pushes up unnecessarily and just leaves it to kind of two defenders with, a very high pressing Fulham. And so, I mean, the finish was the commentator. I remember saying like, "Oh, he's not meant that at all," and I was thinking, this is clearly not a Sky Sports stream, because he was like, "Oh, that was a complete fluke," and I was thinking, "No, that looked like a pretty decent finish from Andreas to really wrong foot Ramsdale there." But yeah, from that moment on, it was just us trying to break them down again, and it's the same old story of a low block and us not really having the quality to get past it. And I think it just goes to show, I can understand why, I don't want to bring him up this early, but I can understand why Pep made the move to go and get a lethal finisher, because our biggest problem is, mate, we had 19 shots, 11 of which on target, 72% of possession, and we couldn't bloody force the ball into the back of the net, right? Like we just couldn't get it in there for the first, 70 odd minutes, trying to break them down, couldn't do anything. And then obviously we get a penalty, deserved. And then it's nice to see Saka come up and take it. Obviously, after Odegaard taking the last one, I was a little bit afraid that maybe Saka had kind of stepped back from trying to take penalties. We know he's had some, not controversial, but he's had some penalty misses in some pretty big games in his career so far, and he's only a young guy. So it's nice to see him back on penalty duty, and it was a good finish. It was a good penalty. Kind of sent the goalkeeper completely wrong way, which is nice. And then from there, you could feel the momentum, but we left it like not late necessarily, but we left it later than we should have. Only a 20-minute cushion to try and get another goal. It's at the Emirates. Obviously, the crowd are bigging us up, but Eddie Nketiah gets a good goal after that, pretty quickly. a nice pass into the box and then a great finish from him. It was very clinical. It was nice to see him on the pitch. And maybe he is that outlet for us. If we're talking about, creating a lot of chances and not putting any of them away, he definitely had a bit of a stinker last week in that regard and missed a lot of, kind of a lot of easy, kind of open, clear through chances. But he was pretty clinical when he came on. So from there, it looked like coasting season. It was time, it was time. Let's just close up shop. Let's shut it down. Let's get to the next game for Man United, and just let's count this as like another one of those kind of stinky performances where we somehow win. But no, Calvin Bassey goes and gets himself sent off, deservedly so. I don't think that's one of few decisions that have happened that people aren't going to talk about because it was a blatant kind of need to be sent off. I think it was 2 yellows, right? And I think both of them were unquestionable. So down to 10 men. And then a corner. First of all, stupid from Zinchenko to let that corner go, like to even happen in the first place. That should not have happened. And then in the corner, no one picks him up. He's like literally in between 2 men, both looking at each other thinking, who's going to go for him? Is it me or you? So you got Rice and Saka just looking at each other thinking, who's going for that one? And my reaction is to say, Rice, you should bloody be going for that one. But at the same time, if the more I watch it back, I think, come on, Saka, man, you're not having a great game here. I know you scored a penalty in that, but that reflects nicely on you because he did not have his greatest game. So from that point of view, it's a real big disappointment. I don't think Fulham deserved to come away with a point, to be honest with you, based off of just the domination that we had that game. And I know that people throw around domination quite a lot, but if you look at the stats, 19 to 8 shots, 11 to 3 on target, 72% versus 28% possession. We had significantly higher pass accuracy, way more passes in the game. We created a lot more chances. So from that point of view, we should have come away with 3 points there. And even without performing that well, we should still have come out with the 3 points. And so I won't prattle on, but I'm going to ask you, Ant, what did you think when you saw that bloody lineup come out again, where you got Trossard up front, you had Havertz playing again, and you got Partey back at right back? What was going through, and obviously you got Kiwior on the left hand side. What would go through your head as an Arsenal fan if you saw that lineup?
Well, the Trossard one, I don't think that's madly controversial. I can see the argument for keeping Nketiah in, because even at Palace, even though he's missing chances, I still think he had a good game and he influenced the game massively. He got the pen. He was a nightmare really for Gahey and Anderson to deal with. Even though I think they did well, I think he caused a lot of problems for them. And obviously he scored in the first game. So I thought, all signs point towards him keeping his place. But I can understand the logic in bringing Trossard in, because he's done really well himself off the bench, and he's had his moments. And I feel like that wasn't the crazy shout. The Partey one, I think, is just continued frustration. No one wants to keep seeing that happen, but it seems like it's something he wants to persevere with. So I don't think it was a shock that he did it again. Same with the Havertz situation, because I think those are tied. I think it is because of the Havertz inclusion that you push Partey to the right. The Kirill ones, that one was a surprise. And now I remember in the group chat, a few of the mates were saying, maybe he's had a falling out with Gabriel. Gabriel might be on the move to Real Madrid or something.
Yeah.
But I don't get it. Like, all signs are pointing towards something going on. Either he's not been training well, they've had a falling out, he wants to leave or something, because I can't see the logic in playing Kirill ahead of him. Even with the idea that Kyrill's playing left back, why didn't they bring in Gabriel to left centre back alongside Saliba and put Zinchenko at left back, because he came on anyway, and then continued the Partey experiment at right back? Or just play, White and Saliba with Zinchenko at left back? I don't know. I can't understand what Arteta's really doing. I don't see the logic behind it, and I feel like he's having a bit of his crazy professor moment that, like, Pep's had. A lot of the top managers, Benitez, Mourinho, have all had these moments where they've done stuff which people just can't
It
like,
it
decipher.
baffles me. it baffles me around the Gabriel thing, and I think there's definitely a lot going on there. But I was watching kind of a reporter asking Arteta about it, and he had said, you know, I've told him the way that I want him to play. You know, I've told him the reason for why he's not playing. He understands that. Whether he respects it or not, I don't know. Kind of jokingly said that, and that was that. And then obviously the Real Madrid rumors come out. I read other things that say Gabriel's, you know, firmly wants to be at Arsenal. He wants to bring us a title. He wants to do all these things. So I'm really confused on what's going on here because you know as much as I know. We all know that he's got the bozo gene in him, right? We know clearly that Gabriel can throw in clangers when he needs to, right? Or not when he needs to, whenever he feels like it, apparently, right? But at the same time, there was a lot of discussion at the back end of last season, even when Saliba was out, right? There was a lot of discussion to say who was Arsenal's best centre back last season.
Yeah,
A lot of discussion around that. So
and
it's
valid
clear
as
that
well.
Saliba, it's clear that Saliba has got the nod there, so he's definitely part of it. But I don't know what's gone on with Arteta to think that, you know, having Gabriel in there is not the right decision when clearly we've got Partey playing out of position. Kiwior has barely had any minutes for us, generally speaking. When he's got on, he's looked all right, but he hasn't got on very often. Then you've got Zinchenko, who's supposed to be like a kind of a leader in our dressing room, and obviously people mocking him for crying and getting everyone together after he makes a mistake and all that. But you know, you'd think he'd get on the pitch. So again, we're playing Kiwior on the left hand side, where there's a better, you know, or there's what you'd expect Arteta's favourite, you know, a preferred left back to be there. So he's getting in ahead of him somehow. Partey's getting in ahead of Ben White, who was arguably, not to say he was, I think Trippier was on a different level from everyone last season, but Ben White was in the conversation, right?
It
And
was
it's
for
kind
sure.
of what you said about Shaw last week. Maybe he was in the conversation because a lot of right backs had terrible seasons, but at the same time, he was in the conversation, and
Yeah,
now we've moved
Ben
him
White
back over
was
to centre back.
Ben White was completely valid in being in that best right back of the season conversation. There weren't many right backs out there that had a better season than him. And
Yeah,
the interesting thing is, I never really thought about it this way. Obviously, it's logical, but all of this tinkering has had an effect, I think, on other parts of your team
I agree.
because
Saka and Martinelli, maybe.
Martinelli
Yeah,
and Saka have, even if the output is still not completely dried up, Saka's still scored. Martinelli's had moments. I think he got a couple of assists in the first game. So
yeah,
they haven't dried up completely. But if you watch the matches, there isn't that connection or synergy or rapport going on with their fullbacks.
yep,
Like Martinelli and Zinchenko had, and they added Shaka. I've heard
yeah.
Arsenal
That
fans talk
Shaka
about it
was
too.
supporting
The
Martinelli
Shaka,
quite a lot. Yeah,
Martinelli, and Zinchenko left hand side had a lot of synergy, and they worked really well together. And they knew when to cover each other, and they knew when to track back, and they had a really good connection. And the same on the right hand side, Saka and Ben White used to, like, I was shocked when I would see Ben White do the overlapping runs because he
yeah.
did it like,
Did it quite well as
he
well. He
did
was
it
putting in good
like a
balls,
natural
and
right back.
yeah,
And I thought that would be his kind of weakness, would be centre back playing right back. He'll be good defensively, but maybe he won't know the runs. Maybe he won't be able to work with the left with the right winger as well as a natural right back. But I think all of those things worked. And
yeah,
now you've moved things around a bit. Partey and Saka, I think you're right. The first goal comes from them not reading and understanding when to be in, when for Partey to come in the midfield, when for Saka to give the ball, back in that direction. Because it almost looked
yeah,
like Saka was expecting a right back to be there, and there
yeah,
wasn't, and it just went straight through and straight to Pereira. So that's clearly something that's a bit concerning.
yeah,
Um, but I think these are teething problems from this change in tactics and formation changes that Arteta's looking to implement. And I think it's natural that there will be some
mm,
for reasons that we've talked about, for Partey being the one who's playing the right back into midfield role, not being John Stones, who's a centre back or right back moving into midfield. You lose there's defensive nous that Stones has. We've talked about it, that maybe Partey doesn't, being the other way around.
definitely doesn't have. Yeah,
But I think it's natural teething problems that you're having experiencing right now. The argument I've just seen go around is why is he making why is he implementing these changes when you've had one season of a style and system that really worked, um, and he's moving on so quickly to experimenting with other styles. Although you've made a very valid point before on here, saying that to beat City, you need to be so multifunctional. You need to be able
Yeah,
to play different styles. So it's a hard one, isn't it? You either like perfect your one style, which I would say Jurgen Klopp,
that's a
Liverpool
Liverpool
did
thing. Yeah,
before,
yeah,
and were just basically 100%
one dimensional,
competence
but very good.
at that one formation. It was so good.
Yeah,
Or you go and try and do what City have done and reach like 90%, 85%, you know, of a level, or maybe higher because they're City, at three or four different styles. And it seems
yeah,
like Arteta's leaning that way. And the problem being, he's not done this stuff in pre-season, and yet he's decided to do it in a real game situation, which can be costly. And I
mm,
feel like you've kind of been goading this kind of result in the first few matches where you played well, like dominated the games, but gave just a little you left a little crack of the door open for a team to potentially bite you on the and I
mm.
do think that's happened in this game and has caught you up. Do I think it's fair? Probably not, because I think you did. Out of the three games I've watched you guys this season, I think it was a game that you dominated more than the other two. But at the same time, yeah, the defending
Rookie
in
mistakes.
those two scenarios was poor. I agree with you. I'm looking at Saka for both goals in terms of he's had a big part to play in you guys conceding them. Um, I think both of our goalies have had a bit of clangers on the first goal. I think Ramsdale gets all muddled up with his movement to get back on the line. And then, yeah, I've heard people say that Pereira didn't mean it. Pretty much everyone's saying he shanked it. But when I watched the
No, he
goal,
curled it
it
into the near
looked like he
post.
sent him with
Smart.
the eyes to curl
Yeah,
it and lob him, but he flicked his foot round it at the last moment
yeah,
and redirected it near post. So I'm giving that to him. It's not
me
like
too.
X-Man U bias. I actually think he's done a really great piece of skill, and that's caused Ramsdale to turn into Bambi on ice and not know what the hell he's doing,
Oh
and
yeah, because he's
like
running.
that's going to
He's
happen.
running like facing the left side of him, thinking that
Yeah,
he's going to get chipped over to the far post, and then he's just done him the other way, and now he's trying to
yeah.
like doesn't know which way to turn, and
His
yeah,
body's
he does.
flipped, and
It
he's
reminds
gone.
me of the Martinez one where he gets like
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
that, but for a
Well,
goalkeeper. Yeah,
I heard someone say it was like the Messi on Jerome Boateng thing when his
yeah,
body like whole flips around and he like takes a
and then just
mad
sits
dive
sits his on the
afterwards.
floor.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but and even for the corner, yeah, I don't know. It's hard, maybe a bit harsh, but I just feel like defensively it's just quite poor to concede a goal like that. I think that not picking up the man. I think goalie not being commanding in the area. I'm old school like that. You know I am. That's why I
yeah.
love Allison so much. Like you want a goalie to
And
just
he
be
was amazing
huge and
yesterday. Yeah,
monstrous. Yeah, he was amazing. And I don't think Ramsdale or Onana are those kind of goalies. They're a bit more eccentric. They're a bit more about, camera saves and then doing, certain other things really
yeah.
well and not necessarily commanding their box. So I still think, yeah, the second goal is a poor one to give away. And I mean, bloody hell, you could have lost it at the end. Traore ran through right at the end
I
and
think Saliba was smart though. I'm glad. I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, Saliba couldn't do anything to him." I think Saliba made the right decision not to go in for a challenge and just try and put him
yeah,
off
just
because
keep,
you
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
you know Traore. Yeah, he can barge past you and he's rapid, but he can't finish to save
He
his
can't
life. So
finish for
let
hell,
him
yeah.
have a shot as much as he wants, and we'll be fine. And I think it hits Ramsdale square in the face, doesn't it, and bounces
Yeah,
back
exactly.
out. So use
But
whatever
I
part of your
agree with
body
you.
you got to, man.
No,
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think Saliba did the right thing, even though he kind of got burst for pace. I mean, it's the 90 something minute. Saliba's playing the whole game. Traore just came on.
yeah.
He's going to do that to most
And he's
defenders,
babied
even
oiled
the
up,
quick
man.
ones.
You can't get
He's
your hands on him.
slippery, he's slidey,
Yeah,
exactly. But he kind of breezed past him. But Saliba did the right thing, at least sending him down his left hand side because
yeah,
Traore is poor finisher with his right foot. But if he's going to have to
yeah,
shoot with his left foot, you got to take those odds. And I think he made the right decision.
yeah.
In looking at the odds of Traore scoring, and if I send him down that side, even if he gets past me, I believe there's a lower chance of him scoring, and sure as hell he fluffs his lines with the shot, and you guys are kind of managed to get away with it. But yeah, I think it's something that's come. It might be a blessing in disguise for you guys because
Might wake us
um,
up, kind of
it
like
might
Ten
wake
Hag,
you up.
right?
Yeah, it might wake you up and might make you go, "Wow, we need to lock in now." And what better than a big kind of fierce rivalry game
Derby,
at
yeah,
home to get you guys, because if you come off that win, you've got 10 points out of 12, not terrible. I expect City to win their next game, so you're only 2 points behind. That's
yeah.
not the worst. That's not the worst scenario to be in. It's just, I guess, the manner of the performances,
It's the
and
manner
you
of the
guys
performance. It's also the fact that we're losing against a team that we need to be beating, right? There's
redrawing.
when you're playing up when you're up against City, right? You need to take any of the easy games need to be put away. And no offense to Fulham fans, because I did say you guys would go down, and I appreciate this is kind of maybe just desserts for me, but City's not City, sorry, Fulham's a game on the calendar that you are marking as this is 3 points for me. And when you're coming up against City, you can't afford to drop those 2 points and draw to them. We saw what happened on the back end of last season, right? We had a decent cushion, couple of draws here and there, and we're 5 points behind now somehow, right? So from that point of view, the performance, of course, is disheartening, but at the same time, you can't be losing points or dropping points to teams like Fulham. No offense, again, no offense to Fulham fans, but you can't. If it was you guys, if we drop points against you, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. If we dropped them against Liverpool, Newcastle, Man City, I'm okay. I get that because those are hard games. Those are real difficult games. But you're at home against Fulham. This should be no offense to Fulham again, but this needs to be a solid, guaranteed 3 points for a championship winning side. And if it ain't, then we got to think about, are we really going to be able to do that? Because I did predict at the beginning of the season we'd come second. I'm even starting to doubt that. But I did say that we'd be second by a large margin. Like we'd be behind City by a large margin. And this is the exact reason why. Because City are not dropping points, even when they had a little shake against Sheffield. They're not dropping points, man. And I don't see who's going to beat them. Newcastle looked unstoppable, and then look, City beat them. So man, for me, it's really disheartening. And I think the last thing I wanted to say, you kind of touched on it, was with Saka. Whenever he's got the man coming around the outside of him, it allows him to cut in, right? Because it distracts the defender out. Someone's gonna be slow to pick him up as he cuts in, and he'll whip it into the far corner or slap it, right? And he got so many good chances and goals from those kinds of positions last year because someone like Ben White was coming around to distract the defender. You saw now, right? He had, I think was it Anthony Robinson all
Hmm.
over him. He got no respite, and Saka's a strong guy, but he's played what? He's just set a record for the number, like the most games in a row or whatever for a person of his age. So he's got Anthony Robinson just all over him, and he can't get a break. He can't get a breather, and I think he just played him out of the game. And at this point, Saka's knackered. And it's the same thing with Martinelli. He doesn't necessarily need the overlap, but what he does like is that he likes that little 1-2 type play, right? That like touch and then run, touch and then run. And he always had Xhaka kind of right next to him that he could just play it and then play it. And that was part of the reason why Xhaka was in really good positions and was really good last year, is that he was linking up really well with Martinelli. Martinelli would come, get on the ball, kind of run at someone, play it out to Xhaka, and then make the run in behind, and he'd get a little dinky pass through. And that was where a lot of his chances came from. And now we're not seeing any support from the right back or left back to any of those players. And you're starting to see they're not as effective when you just isolate them. If it was Rashford, fine, because you don't need to be anywhere near him. You just let him, give him the ball and let him go, and he'll you know blaze past a couple of people and then smash it top corner. But Saka and Martinelli, not to say it's a worse type of player, but they're not that kind of player. They need a bit more support. They need a tactical system to allow them to do what they want to do. And I think that's the big failing here, is that we're first of all making our defense worse by doing this, which is stupid enough in itself, but we're also making the best parts of our team worse. You saw Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard all had shocking games yesterday.
Yeah, no, they definitely are being affected by the system change and personnel change, um, and I don't think it's necessary, because I think if you guys had some injuries or something like that, then I could see why he'd try and tinker around with the team, try and find another way to play. But I know you've lost Shaka, but you've brought Declan Rice in, who I believe can do the same job, if not better, in that position. If you were to keep effectively the same team and just swap those two out, but it's almost like a couple of these buys that you've done, and for some reason Arteta's kind of, it's not only Havertz, for example, right? Like I believe it is a lot to do with Havertz joining the team and the price and the pressure and everything you have to play him. But I also think Arteta's, he's pushed him off the cliff too, because he's gone and
Yeah,
said, I'm going to be doing these tactical changes as well, when he could have just eased Havertz into the team. Like, he had the perfect opportunity to try and do that because he got an injury to Jesus. You could play Nketiah up front, or you could even put Havertz at false nine. That's what he's been doing for Chelsea. Not effectively, but essentially you could just do that straight away and
yeah,
not affect the rest of the team. And I actually believe that would have been a better shout for your overall team than playing Havertz in this 8 role, because
yeah,
what you're seeing is he's the reason why Odegaard is not performing to the level that he was last season. They're
yeah.
occupying similar spaces, and he hasn't quite got the foil that he had, with Shaka last season, who was doing the runs up and down, because Havertz can't do that. He's not got the physicality to be able to do that all the time. He's automatically
He's
going
off
to have to
pace.
be a
Yeah,
little bit more offensive, and therefore Odegaard is going to be the one that's forced to do that from the right. And what you'll see is when Odegaard's being asked to do that, like when Vieira was asked to do that, physicality is not his biggest strength.
nope.
He hasn't got a set of lungs to go back and forth, back and forth. You need him to be able to just impact the final third with his skill, his vision, through balls, his shots. He scored loads of long range shots last season as well, and
Mm.
and that's hindering him. And I do believe Declan Rice, even though he can play a six, I actually think he's better doing the Shaka role.
Yeah,
I literally think that should be the thing he should go and do. Because you're taking away from his game if you're asking him to sit back. And it all seems unnecessary because you've got Partey still. If you lost Partey, then I understand how things would have changed more. But you've still got him there. You've
and we're
still got
playing him bloody
Chargy.
right
So
back.
play
Yeah,
him. Play him at six. White's there. You've got the extra defender. I know he's injured now, Timber, so you're back to square one in terms of your centre backs. But you already have quite a few. Zinchenko's now back. I really think a lot of this is self inflicted, and it
me
might end
too.
up being that it's going to be, it's going to pay dividends later on in the season
It'll be
when you
too late.
start playing this, when you need to play the system against, a City or another team. But if you keep dropping these points, like, draws and stuff like that, and not picking up momentum from positive performances, yeah, by the time it kicks in, like you said, you might be too far away from your targets to try and win the
Yeah,
league by that time, and it'll be like a basically a failed experiment. But I don't know, man. It's I don't want to go overboard because I still think 7 out of 9 is not terrible. But if you do look at your fixtures, like you said, Fulham at home, my turn for the no offense, you should win. You should win. You should win. Beat Fulham at home. Like,
yeah,
they've lost Mitrovic. I actually think they made some smart signings though, because I like Calvin Bassey, even though he,
yeah,
got the yellow card for the time wasting thing. I think it was a bit harsh, kind of like the Tommy Asu one. It was a bit harsh in terms of
yeah,
how long he actually took to kick the ball. Second one's a professional foul. He's going to go off for that. But I
yeah,
think he had a decent game, and I think they've
yeah.
bought a couple of good pieces. But them losing Mitrovic is a lot of
They
their
lost
fight.
Manor Solomon as well,
They lost
who was
Solomon
good
as
for them.
well off the wing. Willian's been signing contracts and then trying to go to Saudi. It's a bit all over the place. But Paulinho, well, we've talked about him on the
Class,
pod
man.
before. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. Like, I was watching Match of the Day back, and they were analysing like his performance and just showing basically he was everywhere. Like, he was
yeah,
at left back, he was at right back, and then he was attacking, he scored the goal. He was closing people down. He's just like a physical specimen. He's like a beast. Like, he's just so strong as well. Like, someone should be getting him. Like, all of our teams need a DM. Well, not you now because of Declan Rice buying him, but
Liverpool
um,
could do with him. I feel like
Liverpool
he
could
he would
use
he
him
would fit
badly.
perfectly into
We
into
could
that.
use him badly to play alongside a Casemiro. Like, big teams are out there that could use him.
I heard
He's
that
class,
Fulham
man.
are asking for a lot of money for him though.
But
But to be fair,
that.
if you're paying 115 million for Caicedo, who's giving away
Yeah,
penalties,
yeah, exactly. I
yeah,
think
might
his
be
his
worth it.
age and stuff doesn't go for him because people are looking to buy young and buy potential and stuff these days. That's more what you kind of get for those big sums. But if it was me and United had 60 to 80 million, I'd buy him. He's prem proven. he's in the prime of his
Mature. You
career.
ain't got to wait for him to get good at all. He's
Yeah,
already there.
he doesn't tend to make rash decisions either and stuff. Like we saw him when United played Fulham, and him and Harrison Reed, like honestly, their midfield bossed us.
Yeah.
It was like absolute bossing, and until they lost their head and did the handball and all the crazy stuff
Yeah.
that turned the
And
whole
Marco
game.
Silva and
Fulham were the
Mitrovic all
better
got sent
team.
off. Yeah.
We were worried that at best we could get a draw. We'd be stuck in Manny for like another 3 hours or whatever. And but I just didn't think they would be the same team as last season. But the way they performed,
They're
maybe we
still
have to
looking
look at
good,
that
man.
again. It's like Wolves as
Yeah.
well. I think some of our relegation shouts on like Wolves got the
Everton.
win. Gary
If we do that
O'Neill.
again, Everton's
No,
going down in mine
exactly.
because they
Everton
look
are
horrible.
100% going. Unless this striker, they bought some young striker from young Portuguese striker because they just can't score goals. Like even against Wolves, their
They
chances
can't.
they
They
just can't
can't
score
stop
goals.
goals either.
Yeah,
They're looking leaky as anything.
yeah, that might be the modification that we do at the end of the
Yeah.
transfer window because they're stinking it
Yeah.
up. But yeah, man, I it's a disappointing result. It's a disappointing performance. I hope for your guys' sake that Arteta looks at this a bit, and doesn't act too stubbornly with persevering with this. But at the same time, with my Man U hat on and we're playing each other, I kind of hope he does because I think that gives us the only chance that we have to
Can
get
you
some sort of
imagine
positive result.
Rashford going at a party? Goodness gracious me.
Yeah, but can you imagine Rice and Partey going through our midfield? Like, I don't want to see that either. We've got a lot of problems ourselves. So let's get
Yeah.
on to that then. Let's get on to United. As we talked about earlier, 2-0 down after 4 minutes. Anana, sitting his ass down for no reason and then flapping about to try and save it on the first goal, made to look a bit amateurish.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
somehow,
the Willy Bolly goal though. He didn't even realize the ball was coming at him. He just
yeah,
turned his head that
and
way and
then
it's gone past everyone. Yeah.
their second goal crosses in, it just literally hits Bolly and bounces in. Our marking is absolutely abysmal. They showed
Yeah.
that on Match of the Day as well. They showed how Delo had lost his man. Everyone basically who had a man in the box lost their man, and they scored. So it literally could have gone back post and they would have scored middle. They would have scored front post. They would have scored. Like we just were just a
A
shambles.
defense for the Trents, we
Um,
call that.
exactly the Trent defense. All of them were pretending to be Trents, and
Yeah.
then yeah, we managed to turn it around, man. And I'm not shocked that we did turn it around because 2-0 down after 4 minutes, it's not over. Like against a City or something, maybe it would be over, right? Because they'd have
Yeah.
the skill and the nous and the experience to see the game out. But we've got enough time to turn it around. The crowd will get up, and we know how Forest play. They play a real low block as well. They try and hit on the counter. Um, And as
Morgan
long as
Gibbs
we kind
White.
of
Yeah.
sorted ourselves out defensively and then concentrated on attacking them, I do think we've now got a team that can pick a low block. It can pick a low block, and I think we can score goals. We can beat a low block team. Back in the olden days of post Fergie, a low block against us, counter, boom, we're done. We could never, get through a low block, and it would be our kryptonite. But I think at the moment, the big problem we're having is we are looking so susceptible to counterattacks and transitions. For a team that wants to be the best transition team in the world, nearly all our goals that we're conceding are on the break and transitions. Like if we go back to that first goal, Awanihi literally
My
from
guy.
our own corner is one on one with Rashford with one pass. And then let's be fair, Rashford is quite strong for a wiry guy. Like we've seen him shove Van Dijk about,
Yeah.
but he can't shove Awanihi about. Awanihi is like
A tank.
literally a brick.
Yeah.
So and then I don't know what happens with Onana. I think he also kind of gets sold a little bit because he thinks
Oh,
Awanihi's
and
going
he
to finish
takes a
off
long time
early.
to finish it, right?
Exactly, and then he's like,
yeah.
like Onana is a bit indecisive, and I actually think for one time he should be sweeping high up, and then he may have done something about that. But they score, and then we've got the Bolly goal, which Calamity just all over the shop, shocking defending, and then we start to play, and I actually think for the rest of the match Bruno was great, and I think he actually was really, really aggressive and decisive. And him and Rashford, from that point on, actually had a pretty good game. Rashford, shock and horror, Rashford out left does well, taking people on, dribbling at people. We score our one goal back from pretty much that. Him attacking their right back Aurier, and then does him, and then Christian Eriksen comes in for the first goal back, and then yeah, I think we're just like pushing and probing, pushing and probing. Casemiro somehow misses a bloody open goal with a header. No idea what he's doing. And the second half starts, and then you see a little. Our equalising goal was it looked like something off the training ground, which actually makes me quite happy. Like the short corner, and then whipping out to Rashford, and then Rashford swings it back to Bruno, who's like running off the blind side, squares it for about four guys who were offside before that, but because he squares it back behind the ball, the second phase they can pull it back, and Casemiro gets the goal. And then we get the penalty incident, which a lot of people are saying are controversial. Some people are saying it's not a pen. Some people are saying there's contact, and even though it's soft, it is a pen. Like, I've seen those pens go against us recently, and people have been absolutely livid. I can remember Sancho had two last season where it was the same, if not more contact than that, and we didn't get a pen. I think I remember McTominay one at Crystal Palace where he absolutely got wiped out and didn't get a pen. So it's soft, man. I think there's very minor contact. It's like Sabozolai one a few weeks ago, where everyone was saying he was diving. I actually think there's a bit more contact than that one, but I think it's a soft pen. And Danilo's just an idiot, man. I don't know why he doesn't actually
Well, he
need to
pulls
do
out.
anything. I
Like
know he
he
pulls
goes
out.
in
He's
and then
already
pulls
done the
back out.
first
But
action,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
he realizes, oh, shit. And I feel like that's just like a really inexperienced. I actually like Danilo as well. I think he's a good midfielder, but I think it's just he showed a bit of inexperience there doing the first action and then trying to pull out by then. Rashford's already trying to run by you, and he's going to be smart and try and like get real close to you and suck out the contact, which even if it was super minimal, um, it comes and the pen's given. And I was happy with how Bruno took it because, I always worry with Bruno pens because you never know how he's going to take them. There's about four
Yeah.
different ways he does it.
He
He
does the
either
Ric
does the
Flair
bloody
walk
hop
all the time.
thing, or
Yeah,
he does a
yeah.
little Ric Flair thing, or he just slaps it. I've seen him sky a few when he just slaps it, so you never know what's coming. But he absolutely hammered it in the bottom corner, and Matt Turner had no chance. I thought Turner was quite good as well, man. He made one really good save from Anthony where he tried to curl it, and he saw it really late and clawed it out. One from Anthony also in like the first minute as well, I think, which led to the corner that they scored from. So I think he had a good game. Obviously, there was the red card as well before the pen
Yeah.
where Joe Worrell pulled him down. And we were talking about off camera because obviously you had the Van Dijk red card as well. It's a hard one, that final man goal scoring opportunity stuff, but at least the only thing I can take solace from is they're being consistent. Like the Van Dijk one got it for that reason, the Worrell one got it for that reason. Maybe we need to look at the rules we talked about last week, refs and the rules, but at least those are consistent decisions being given.
Hmm.
I think what was it? Was it someone got a penalty this week, and it was an almost identical handball to the one that Romero didn't get when United played Spurs. And who was it? Someone got a pen this week.
Wasn't it Tottenham got it for them this time, didn't they?
Was that Bournemouth? Did they get a pen in that match? I don't think they did get a pen in that match, did they? No, it was Man
Was it
City at
Man
Sheffield
City's? Yeah,
United.
Man City, the one that
Man
Haaland
City,
missed.
Sheffield,
Yeah,
Sheffield
yeah,
United. They struck a guy's hand. It was given as a pen, and that's what pees me off because you had the Romero one the week before that went to VAR and they decided that wasn't a pen, but this one they went to VAR and decided it was a pen. Almost identical, same
mm.
proximity stuff, same. The hand was out, and they give it. So at least with the Joe Worrell and Van Dijk one, even though I can understand the arguments against, at least you can say the refs are being consistent. But yeah, there weren't that many controversial decisions this game week.
Well, I
But
mean,
yeah,
Trent could have
we
got sent
snuck it
off,
out.
but
Oh yeah, I mean even the Trent one's a bit harsh though, isn't it? Because he gets fouled on the first one that he gets the yellow card for throwing the ball out.
Yeah, but the
Then
second
he
one was a
definitely gets away
blatant
with it.
yellow. Yeah.
The ref bottled it. Let's be honest. He
Yeah.
bottled it on the
Again,
second one because he
didn't do it to
realised the first
Tomiyasu,
one.
but he did it to little
Exactly.
Liverpudlian homegrown boy Trent. Stinks.
Exactly, and this is what I was saying about Tomiyasu one. That's harsh, and you'll see. Even though I think you were like on the side that Tomiyasu made stupid decisions in that case, you'll
Yeah.
see other people do it and they won't get a red card for it. So that's the infuriating part, isn't it? That
Yeah.
you don't get the consistency. But anyway, back to our match. We barely deserved it. I think we did deserve the win in the end because after the 85 rest of the 85 minutes of the game, I feel like we played well enough to win. Um, it was squeaky though because even after we got the 3-2. Nottingham Forest with 10 men applied more pressure than we did. And we
Hmm.
just don't look convincing, man. So it's ominous, the fact that we're both playing each other,
Yeah.
because I
Well, it's the
think
perfect
it's.
time for both of us to play each other. If either one of us was playing well, it would be like, yes, this is the perfect time because you haven't looked great, we haven't
Yeah.
looked great, and
Mm.
it's now just going to be the battle of two underperforming teams at the moment, really. And I
But
guess
7 and 6 points, if you think about it, at this point last season, we had 3 points.
yeah, I mean,
And this
results
point last
wise, maybe
season,
not. Fair enough, but I mean,
yeah,
we're both
the
based off of where
performance,
you
isn't it?
finished and based
Yeah.
off of where we finished. We should have cleaned up these first three games 9 points straight away. And I think on top of
Spurs
that,
away. I don't
we're
know.
having come on, where did they finish last season? Um, no Kane as well. So, but I think we're both having the same problem of managers struggling to find a winning formula, right? I think with you, it's a bit more justified in that you don't have necessarily all the pieces that you wanted to have, despite spending a decent amount of money. Um, whereas we have no excuse really. We've got pretty much all of the pieces that we wanted, apart from at least what the fans wanted in terms of a striker. We didn't get that, but that was because Arteta didn't want one. So from that point of view, it's going to be an interesting battle, and I think Man United performance against Nottingham Forest, it was arguably the worst start I've seen from your team, which is difficult.
I think it's
Um,
the worst in history. We've never been 2-0 down in
easily,
5 minutes at Old Trafford. Never.
exactly, and I think the fact that it came off of like two like swung in or set piece type goals as well doesn't help either. It kind of shows. Usually, those are goals that you can, unless it's somebody whipping it top corner like a free kick or something. Usually those are goals, if you're organised decently well, makes it
Preventable.
makes yeah
Yeah.
makes it very difficult for a team to score. It's different if somebody smashes an absolute beauty from 45 yards out or whatever else, right? But off of set pieces, same thing as our second goal or the second goal we conceded. Sorry, it's sloppy. It's preventable goals. So from that point of view, terrible start. But as you said, I thought you deserved to win. And I like Nottingham Forest. I think if I had to choose anyone, they're probably my second team, and Awani might be my second favorite player in that team. So, but from that point of view, you deserve to win. I think you you did enough in the end, and you showed that you wanted it, which I think was the most important thing that have been missing from your team is the desire. Ten Hag has mentioned it. We just don't want it enough. It people have been calling you a bit spineless for the last, couple of games. I know it's early to say that, but it doesn't seem like there's a whole ton of character. And I think in that game, Bruno showed that he had character. Rashford showed that he had character. Again, he's playing in his favoured position. If he's playing up front, maybe he wouldn't have shown as much character as he did. But you did enough to win in the end, and I think that that's what you needed to do. And I think the pen was a bit soft, but at the same time, uh, soft pens are given all the time. So I don't think we can complain about that at all. If it was not given, I'm sure there would be plenty of people saying that should be a penalty. So at this point, I try not to argue about penalties anymore because I have no idea what an actual penalty looks like anymore. But again, looking at it and looking at what happened to Sposlai, sure, that's a pen, fine. So I think from that point of view, you guys should be happy. There's a lot of people that are on Twitter dissing you guys after that 2-0 down. And I know a lot of tweets had to get deleted, or what do they call them now? X's. I know a lot of X's had to get deleted after you guys came back and won it. Just the same way with Liverpool and Newcastle yesterday. So that must have felt sweet. And it's nice to see you guys not be every week because otherwise your fans would be unbearable.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, man, it's one of those ones where it feels a bit bittersweet just because, as it probably was when you guys beat Forest yourself. Less so with Palace because you being down to 10. I think it's gladly, rightly seen as a very good result, but probably similar to your Forest game where kind of the opposite way around for you because you started really well in that and then tailed off at the end, and we started poorly and got better in the game, but it's not ideal, man. Look at it this way: you've got 7 points, Spurs have got 7 points, Liverpool got 7 points, but the feelings around all three of those clubs are different. Like you've got the same points as both of those two teams, but because of how they've
Yeah,
been playing or how they've just like
the
Liverpool, for example,
expectations. Yeah,
grabbing that victory out the jaws of defeat in the last few minutes feels different, and the expectations are different. Those two teams underperformed last season to varying levels, and you overperformed.
yeah,
And then it feels like there's been a leveling out. But this was why there was all that chat earlier in the season, when I think a lot of Arsenal fans, not you, but a lot of Arsenal fans were quite upset with the argument that it wouldn't be a given that you would be the title challengers for City because other teams would improve, and you have seen now. I don't know if you could say that about Liverpool completely because
they haven't
I don't
improved.
think they were great against Bournemouth. I think Chelsea should have beaten them in the first game, and then I think that Newcastle game is a complete freak one-off thing because they're down to 10
Yeah, just
and they
Darwin
somehow
Nunes going absolute nuts,
two
mate. Yeah,
counters and Darwin Nunes smacks it in. Don't get me wrong, that could change their whole season now, and they might play like a different team. But up until now, I don't know if you can actually say you can get behind a lot of their performances the way they've been playing. But I think for Spurs, it's different.
yeah. Spurs look significantly better.
Spurs have got style. They've looked like they've got camaraderie. They've like started playing youngsters and new signings or underperforming signings from last year, and it's like they're a new team. Like if
Yeah,
they solve their striker position, they really are going to be a good team, man. And I wouldn't be shocked if they finished in the top four if they did that. But yeah, with you guys and with us, because there's been a disappointing result for each of us. Obviously, us losing is worse than drawing, but there's more expectation for us both now, and we've both
yeah.
spent a lot of money, and I guess Tottenham and Liverpool have spent slightly less. So
But it's
therefore,
also
there's
because
different
our fans are
expectations.
looking at us like with Liverpool and with Tottenham, you don't look at their squad selection and be like, oh, or their team selection for match day and think, oh, what the hell is he doing? You know,
Mm,
because at that time, like for the most part, they've got massive gaps and they know that they can't really do anything about them at this point, right? Whereas with you and us, you less so than us, but we've got everything we need, right? We've
mm,
pretty much got everything we need to be challenging. And I think here's one thing that might be the saving grace of some of those Arsenal fans that said, it should be a given that we're expected to do as well. Because given the window that we've had, our team has improved. Not massively, because we have lost obviously Shaka and some I guess he was be the key piece in that midfield that maybe we're suffering from a little bit right now. But for the most part, we've improved. And so you look at the squad selection and you think, why have we gone out and improved ourselves in the summer transfer window if you're going to keep playing all of this? Like what is the point?
mm.
It's like you buy a Rolls Royce and then you drive a bloody Hyundai or Hyundai as they call it in the new adverts, right? Like what's the point? You just stick in the Rolls Royce in a garage and now you're going to move everything else around and we're going to lose or we're going to drop points against Fulham. Like that's where I think had we actually played our first squad and just started playing as badly as we are now, then I could get it for everyone to say, yeah, like all those fans were 100% wrong. But I don't even think we're playing our full strength side, at least the way that we know it. And that just makes me think like, again, like you said, self-inflicted is the perfect word for it. And I think Ten Hag's learned his lesson already, right? Play Rashford on the left side. Think about playing Eriksen every now and then if it ain't working. But it doesn't. I don't know if Arteta's learned that lesson yet. And he seems like a pretty headstrong guy. And I don't know about you, but in these press conferences and on the sidelines, he's looking a lot more cocky than he used to be. He used to be a quiet little guy on the sidelines, not making much noise. Now he's shouting at everyone, doing the funny like means to mock the ref and all that. He's getting a bit big for his boots. And at that point, you ain't won anything, mate. Get back
He's
to
won
choosing
FA
your
Cup.
best 11, would you?
He's got one FA Cup under his belt, but yeah,
Community Shield as well.
yeah, we closed that out as well. You shameless. But no, I hear you, man. I think I do think they've got similarities because I do think Ten Hag's been really headstrong and stubborn in certain games as well, and that's been our downfall, I think, at certain times. But I think there's some things you have to look at and think, like with the Arteta thing, there's got to be circumstances around it that are at play that we don't know about. Because with Ten Hag, for example, the reason why Rashford's been playing up front is because we made the decision to buy an injured striker, and the other striker we have in our books is perennially injured as well. And so, therefore, obviously, the thing that's questionable is we've been doing Sancho false nine, and he could have put Rashford left to play Sancho false nine, but maybe he hasn't bought into that. And so, the reason why he's seen Rashford play centre forward more last season with varying levels of success and decided to do that because his hands are tied. And now that Martial's back, it goes back to somewhat of a normal team. And there might be something going on behind the scenes at Arsenal with some of your players from that original 11 that you had. That something's going on. There are rumblings. There's injuries that are not being declared. There's something happening which is forcing him to play this way. But at the same time, he comes from that Pep school of tinkering, and it could easily just be that he's trying to experiment and he wants to change the team around to try and give the opposition a different look and something to be a little bit less predictable. But I hear the
Mm.
shouts from you and other Arsenal fans who say we had that good team for one season. One season is not enough to then just rip it up and start something different. You try and perfect and solidify that alongside
Building
learning these
something
other
else. Yeah.
systems and doing these other things. And it looks from the outside looking in like he's scrapped that completely and he's just trying these other systems. And
Yeah.
that's the worrying thing because, yeah, it's at the moment, it's looking like there's some hiccups with it. So we'll see, man. Let's preview the game then. So we've got each other on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Um, the TV will be there, Sky will be there. There'll be no hiding for either one of us if one of us gets a thumping.
Yeah.
Peter Drury will be commentating as well, so
Come
he'll
on.
make it poetic as well for whoever wins. Gary
If
Neville will
Gary
be
Neville is going to be
shameless.
commentating,
he will definitely
I'm
be
gonna
there.
lose it, and
He will be there.
I'm gonna
He will
turn
be
into a
there.
Karen, and Sky's getting a call because that's ridiculous. Get Gary
He,
Neville off of
he
any
will
Man
be on
United
there.
match, please.
No, he will.
Pure
He
bias
100%.
out here.
100%. It will be Peter Drury, Gary Neville, maybe Carra as well, and have three of them in there like they've done the Chelsea Liverpool game. But
Shameless.
yeah, they will be there. Emirates on Sunday. I'm worried, man. I'll be honest. Even with the stuff that's going on with Arteta and your team changing and this disappointing result, we are so leaky in defence and we're conceding goals left, right, and centre, or not even only goals, chances. So if I look at Wolves, we both agreed after
Yeah.
that match we were very lucky to get the win. In fact, we should have lost. It
Yeah.
wasn't an Onana penalty thing. They were just slicing us open at will.
Yeah.
And Cunha literally missed open goals almost multiple times for us to win that match. Tottenham did beat us and took advantage of some of their chances, but they had other chances as well, hit the bar. And then this match, I don't think Forest had huge amount of chances, but the ones we did give away were bad ones and ones where there were a
Mm.
high possibility of conceding. So I think if you guys sort your out basically, and Arteta plays somewhat of a traditional Arsenal team from last season, we could hold a spanking because
Mm.
our midfield is so wide open. Casemiro's still getting walked past by every midfielder in the league. Um, I was looking at the match of the day analysis after the game yesterday. Martinez is still acting up, getting pulled left, right, and centre and doing madnesses. Varane came off at half time, and he's looked our best defender until now. We've got obviously Luke Shaw injured, so Delo's playing left back. I think he did all right, but you know the thought of Saka up against him, even a half strength at full form, Saka gives me nightmares against Delo, to be honest. Um, Martinelli, Wan-Bissaka, I'm kind of more comfortable with because, like we've talked
Yeah.
about,
One on
Wan-Bissaka's a
ones.
really good one-on-one defender. But still, that's going to be a difficult game for Wan-Bissaka because Martinelli's one of those ones who won't give up. He'll keep
Yeah.
coming at you non-stop. Um, and it
The only
really
saving grace
depends.
maybe is the positioning. If Martinelli can get in behind him, because that's something that Wan-Bissaka's trying to progress up the pitch a bit more. Maybe that's the only
Yeah,
way. But
exactly. So yeah, the transition stuff, your wingers are good and pacey. They're quick. They can get behind us in the gaps if we leave them. The only hope for us really is if that you do continue with this experiment, a party at right back, that hole that he's going to leave in there, and if Rashford plays left wing, he's going to cook. Because
hmm
even Rashford, who hasn't scored a billion goals recently, he's got the skill set to cause trouble,
he
and
did it to
Rashford
Party
has.
last season. He literally
Well,
nuts
yeah,
Party last
nuts
season.
him and
Did it
score.
literally.
But he's also got previous against Ben White, and if Ben White plays right side centre back, he's twisted Ben White up into a pretzel a couple of times for Arsenal and for Brighton. So that's not a good matchup for Ben White either. And I really like Ben White, but I think White against Rashford is a nightmare for him. Saliba against Rashford is a better one for you. And if you see Saliba get swapped out to that right hand centre back alongside Gabriel, if he comes back in, I think you've got that's a better look for you. But if
Yeah.
you go with the current back four that you've been playing, um, yeah, I think our only saving grace is if we play Rashford out on the left and Martial or Hoyland up front, and then Anthony on the right. I think that front three could get joy from your defence as it's currently
Mm.
set up. But if you go to your Gabriel Saliba, Ben White one, even though I think Ben White can get isolated by Rashford, I think Saliba as cover will do a lot better and
And
help him
Saka
out.
coming back as well, because I
And
think
Saka
if
coming
you get
back,
if
yeah,
you get that partnership of White and Saka back up, maybe
exactly. And I
we'll see
think that
more on the
they'll put. Oh
defensive
my
side.
god, if you have White and Saka, White with the overlapping runs on Delo at left back, it's going to be a very long day because he's going to cut in. And even though Delo is right-footed, so he might stand a better chance actually coming in
Yeah.
inside to defend him. I think he's just going to be so frazzled by the overlapping run that it's gonna be worrying. And recently, when Delo against Forest, Delo was doing what Partey's doing for you. He was coming inside. I don't know if you saw it. He was constantly
Mm.
coming into midfield, which I actually think he'll be good at. He'll be kind of like a bit like Zinchenko in that way.
Yeah, he's good
He'll
on the
do
ball.
really well coming in, but it's going to leave a big gap where he was a left back, which obviously if Saka and White are attacking will be a long day. And then yeah, we won't speak about. I'm not going to speak about the midfield because our midfield is it's just non-existent. Like it
Yeah.
was. Well, I heard people talk about it as well, like a donut. We've got completely empty in the middle, or like a bagel FC.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not looking good in that way. But it's a hard one to call, man. Because if I was Arteta, I think it's a no-brainer to go back to your traditional lineup and
Yeah.
style of play. I think it'll be a really tough game for us if you do that. But if he sticks with it, I think we're in with a shout of, I think it'll be a high-scoring game, and I think we'll have a chance to get something from it if you go with the same um, style formation that you've played recently. But
Mm.
if you go to your traditional one, I'd say 3-0, 3-1, something like that would be on the cards. But if you persevere with this party at right back, Havertz in midfield, I can see it being a 2-2, 1-1, something like that, and not ending up being too lopsided. But what do you think, man?
Yeah. I can see it similar. I think if we set up the same way that we've set up for the last two games, we clearly are letting in goals. So I think from that point of view, if we set up the same way, I can see us losing. I can see us losing 2-1. Um, I think defensively, yes, you are shaky, but at the same time, we couldn't bloody finish our dinner recently. So I could see us losing if we set out like that again. If we set out like we usually do, I still don't think it'll be a massively high scoring game because I mean, last season against these two teams playing against each other, it brings something out of you lot. I don't know what it is, but you guys come up against us and you guys play a lot better than have been against any other team. So from that point of view, I think you also do decently well against big teams, not including Tottenham in that because they're not a big team. Um,
Not
but
away
yeah,
though.
like
Not
yeah,
away. We've lost
fair
nearly
enough.
every game away against this. That top nine never
But
existed
it's
before,
it's
right? It's
it's
because we're so shy against them.
against Arsenal away. It wasn't a battering, right? I haven't seen you go and play against Arsenal, even if it's away, and get battered. So I think if we do play the way that we're supposed to, then I could see us winning again 3-1. I think, but I think it would be a generous kind of scoreline based off of the actual play. But again, if we come out with Partey at right back, Havertz in midfield, I can see us losing. Honestly, I can see us losing. It's been very disheartening watching us recently, given kind of the way that we played. I probably sound like a Tottenham fan now, but like those, even the first two games where we won it, the style of play wasn't what I like to see. The kinds of mistakes that we were making wasn't good. I didn't enjoy watching that match. Or watching those matches, and I definitely didn't enjoy watching against Fulham. So from that point of view, I'm not super optimistic, man. I'm not. This is the best time for you to play us because we look horrible. You guys also look horrible, but again, you might get up for it on the day. Ten Hag might have rattled some cages, and you might just beat us. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I do think weirdly enough, it's the best time for both of us to play each other, and I do think that a win
Yeah,
for either one of us off in this game could be the little kickstart that we both need for our season. I think if we draw, it kind of leaves us in the same situation that
yeah,
we are in now. Even though I think we might come out of that with a bit more confidence, I still think it wouldn't be the same level of confidence boost that I think could have a big effect on us. Like for example, the Liverpool win yesterday against Newcastle, I think is
yeah,
going to have a big impact on them. Um, I think equally, if we were to come away from the Emirates with a win, I think it would be just the kickstart that we need. I think it would be a big blow to your hopes
yeah,
to challenge again off the back of the draw with Fulham as well. I think it would because I really believe both of our teams are really heavily reliant on confidence and like
yes,
a bit of rhythm and good results breeding more good results. Um, I think teams like City, even Liverpool to a certain extent, don't have to rely on like form to be good to continue that kind of role. They can
yeah.
pull out a big victory, in isolation. I don't think we're Arsenal and United are way too fragile. We've proven
And we've
it.
also got very venomous fan bases.
Yeah,
So when we have bad results, everyone jumps on us, and that gets the confidence even lower. Right? I agree with you completely.
yeah, man. And let's see how it goes. It's gonna be a nervy watch, super nervy watch. I never really like watching Arsenal United games because I just feel like they're just because of the old rivalry, and the fact that our family's split. Two of the brothers are Arsenal, two of the
Yeah.
brothers are United. It's always a very lively group chat after the games, but I think it's going to be a big moment, man. It's kind of a bit effed up that it comes so soon in the season. To be honest, I would have
Yeah.
liked both of our teams to have a few more games before one of these big Arsenal United matches has come around. But yeah, the fixture list is what it is, so we'll have to see, man. I think at this point it's looking long for everyone with City anyway. And my prediction of you guys being close to them, if we win, I think that's my prediction probably in the mud.
Yeah.
If you win, I still think you've got a shot. You'll only be 2 points behind them, I think, going into the international break, which is not terrible. But I do think they've been very lucky, haven't they, with their fixture list? I think the next four games
Yeah.
they haven't got anyone in the top in what last season's top 7 or 8. I think the hardest game they've
It's
got
kind of
was
the
away to
opposite
West
of what
Ham.
happened
So
last season, because last season we had quite an easy run for the first, I think, maybe 12-ish games in comparison to everyone else. And now it looks like City have kind of gone and got lucky and managed to get a good, easy set of fixtures. But next week's hard for a lot of people, man. I was looking at my FPL team and I was like, oh no, I don't know what to do because I've got so many players against really hard opposition next week. So it looks like next week is just going to be a sticky one for everyone.
yeah, it's tough. It's a lot. It's the week before the. This is the thing, man. This next game week is kind of like the last of this first 4 game week, the block of first 4 game weeks, and then you've got international break for 2 weeks, and then we come back, and then basically everyone's playing every 3 or 4 days. Who's in
Yeah.
Europe anyway? You've got the League Cup will kick off, you've got Champions League will kick off, you've got Europa League, for Liverpool, and then man that will kick off, and you've got all the different European competitions will be kicking off. So that's when it's going to get real sticky, and that's why I
Mm.
think this game is so. It's crazy how it's come about in this fourth game week because if it goes wrong for either one of us, it's going to be really hard after the international break. You're going to have to be playing games all the time. You're going to be really
Mm.
fighting against this negative momentum. So I'm praying that we get a win or at least it's a draw. I think, to at least take us into that period, and we'll be able to build up some confidence. But yeah,
Yeah,
man, it's a weird moment for both of us. I didn't think we'd be at this point coming into this first game against each other. I thought we'd both come probably in the back of 9 points each, or maybe us 7 with the Spurs game. Um, but yeah, we've come in slightly below that, so I think there's kind of a bit even more pressure around it. So yeah, let's see
yeah,
how it goes, man.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the negative sentiment around both of our teams right now leads me to believe that there's a lot on the line in that next game. I think whoever comes out of it worse, their fans are going to be not super happy, and it might lead to It might actually be a good thing that the international break is straight after. It'll give everyone a breather and not have to think about it too much. But yeah, for Arsenal fans, I can see it. I've got a weird feeling that it's not going to go well. So we'll come back next week and see if that has come true. And if it has, even though I'm going to be unhappy, I'm going to tell everyone I told you so.
Next episode's going to be a fun one, because you'll have the review of obviously our game between each other. Um, Kind of, we won't really be able to do a look ahead to our next game, because you'll have the international break in between, but you will have the opportunity to talk about whatever last minute transfers we do, because
Yes,
the window will have
Harry
closed.
Redknapp,
I think
get
we're
the car
both
window out. Come on.
yeah, exactly, Odom wingy vibes. I think yeah, we both need to probably do a little bit more in the window. I think you guys, at least a lot of people are talking about trying to get in
A timber
um,
replacement, right?
yeah, Timber, like a short term replacement. We're looking at getting a Luke Shaw short term replacement. I'm seeing worrying rumours of Cucurella and Marcos Alonso, which is making myself. So that's not good. We also need a midfielder. There's been talk of Scott McTominay weirdly getting linked with Bayern Munich, which would absolutely crack me
Wow.
up. You've got Harry Maguire still being linked with a loan move to West Ham, which just pisses
They
me
got
off even more.
Mavropanos, right?
Um, yeah, they
Mavropanos,
got Marapinos in the end. Yeah, they're
Arsenal
cited
legend,
kudos
mate.
as kudos as well. That like West Ham are
Yeah,
cooking. Which yeah, David Moyes. He can't be
David.
David anymore. It's David now. So yeah, there's a lot for us to chat about. But I guess we can leave this week's ep here, Johns. Thanks for chatting, man. Sharing the therapy
Pleasure.
chat from this last game week. Yeah. Also, if you're listening on audio only platforms, don't forget to follow the pod. Leave a 5-star review if you're listening on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think the game's going to be between us next week. Um, Also, feel free to add some positivity in there, considering how negative this one has been. And yeah, we'll catch you next week. Cheers, Johns.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers, Ant.